All right, we are back. We are back, folks. Average Golf Talk. We've been away for too long, but we're back, and we're back in a big way. I am super, super excited to not only talk about the topic we're going to be discussing tonight, but the guests that we have as well. Club fitting, everything club fitting. For whatever reason, I've been getting a lot of my buddies been asking me about clubs they should get. I am not qualified to do that whatsoever, so I thought I'd bring in an expert tonight to talk about, his background in club fitting, walking through some of the process, if you will, in terms of what he looks for in getting guys fit for the right club. So I'm happy to have him on. I'll get him introduced here in a minute. And as always, this is brought to you by Spicy Golf Co. Yeah, super excited for tonight. We're going to wait for him to join us, and we're going to hop right into it. The man of the hour.
Hey, Jacob, how's it going?
What's going on, Brady? How you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good to have you on. I really appreciate you coming on the program tonight.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. So you're based out of Minnesota, right?
Yep, St. Paul.
Nice, man. Old stopping grounds for me.
Yeah.
I've been in Chicago for a little over like 7-8 years, but Minneapolis was home for both college and 8 years after that. And I still got my younger brother's still up in the Minneapolis area too. So I get up there every once in a while to
cool.
See the buddies and see him and all that good fun stuff. So yeah. Well, look, we're going to hop right into it, my man.
Sounds good.
And, I kind of queued you up beforehand, but, everything club fitting. And ironically enough, it was right when we kind of connected on Instagram. I was like, I got to bring this guy on because obviously I'm not qualified to talk about this. And we got to hear from one of the experts. But I was scoping your background, man. It looks like you have a pretty extensive golf background from the early ages through college. I'd love to just kind of get to know you a bit more and, what the golf background's all about.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in southern Minnesota, lucky enough to pretty much grow up on a golf course and go out play a few holes with my dad after supper every night. And that's what got me hooked on the game. I've literally been obsessed with it pretty much since I could walk. My high school jobs were working at the golf course, cleaning the carts, just the cart barn guy. And then when I was in college, I worked at the TPC. I was outside operations there at TPC Twin Cities, so that was super fun. And then played on the club team at ASU while I was there. And so just been always around golf. And then after I graduated with a degree in biomedical engineering. So I was looking for an engineering job, and it was taking a long time after I graduated. So I needed to get a job, and I had just applied to work at the golf shop, and I just planned on, just trying to help out however I could there, just while I got another, a full-time career job. And it ended up being super fun. They trained me into club building and club fitting. So that's when I got certified for everything. And that was in 2016. So that was 7 years ago now.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I've been club fitting and club building. That on the side. I do it besides my normal engineering job. So I've been doing that for 7 years now.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah. And so when you say ASU, you mean Arizona State, right?
Yeah, Arizona State.
Nice. Yep. What's it? I mean, that's pretty. Did you try to go for the team at all, or did you just fell into you say I want to do the club thing, or
yeah,
it's a huge program, obviously.
Yeah, and they're super good. I graduated with John Rahm, so he would have been my competition to get on the team.
That's holding down a spot for sure.
I kind of accepted the fact that I probably wouldn't beat him out, and so
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
So the club team was awesome. It was super casual, and just a good way to be around the game. And the Karsten golf course on the Tempe campus was really cool. And I can't remember if it was 20 or $25 for students, but that was a great place to spend some time.
That's awesome. Did you ever get to play around with Rahm, or were you guys?
I did not.
Okay.
I had breakfast to him next to him one time, and that was as close as I got.
Nice. It's much closer than I think a lot of us would. So I think that's an accomplishment for sure. Well, look, before we get into it, I just want to ask, like, in terms of Minnesota, because again, got the roots, like, what is your favorite course in and around, it just be the Twin Cities specifically?
Yeah, Troy Burn is my go-to. I make sure I get out there uh,
Nice.
at least once a year, just across the border in Wisconsin.
It's a
That's
solid track. It's
Yeah,
a
I
solid
absolutely
track.
love it there. I think the difference between the front nine and the back nine makes it super interesting. There's not a boring hole out there, in my opinion. So that's the one place that I make sure I get to at least once a season.
That's solid. I've only played there once. I used to go to, I think I'm gonna botch the name. Is it Stone Ridge? It's like Woodbury, or is that Stillwater? I guess I
Yeah,
forgot what it.
I think technically maybe Leno Lakes,
Okay,
somewhere in there. But I go there to practice all the time. I live pretty close
nice.
to that. Keller is my local course,
Okay,
and so that's like my go-to. That's where I practice the most. But if I'm gonna go practice putting, I go to Stone Ridge because the practice green's a little nicer over there.
yeah, no, it's a solid. It's solid. It's solid. That's where me and my buddies used to play quite a bit. So, well, look, let's get into it. I set this up for whatever reason over the last 2 weeks. I know a couple of guys that are getting into the game, or they're, maybe in year one, year two, and their
Yeah.
question to me is like, should I get fitted for clubs? And like, I mean, I'm a resounding yes, only because I've done it, and
Hmm.
I've been playing since I was like 13. I don't know. For me, anyways, it just like helped transform my game in a lot of ways, both for
Yeah.
confidence as well as performance. But I want to throw that question out at you: is like, should golfers get fitted? Yes or no, and why?
Yeah, for sure. So I a little bit of background about my fitting and how I do it.
Hmm.
I'm working with curated.com right now. So it's an online fitting platform. So my customers can come to the website, they get connected with me. And then, so a majority of my fittings right now are virtual. I do them over the phone, FaceTime. I get their data from simulator sessions they've had if they have. Otherwise, I get just as much info as I can. Their swing videos. Um, so that's kind of like where I fit the most people right now.
Hmm.
And a lot of people that come to me are brand new golfers who have never golfed in their life. And
Really?
so that's a majority of the people that I fit. And the reason is because they go into a golf shop or they're looking online and they have absolutely no idea what to get.
Hmm.
So that's the majority of the type of golfer that I fit. And I like those fittings because I can get the player into some gear that will help them and help them learn the game better and really get them enjoying the game and having a good time doing it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. That's really interesting that the majority of those guys are fairly new to the game, because at least, like, I don't know if it's just like outdated wisdom. It's like, get in with your clubs, use them as much as you can, and then once you've kind of, like, I don't know, X amount of years or whatever rounds, then it's like, then you can go out and I guess get an upgrade. But I mean, I guess, like, if you're getting fitted right off the bat, you can, I guess, grow into them fast, better, and for longer. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that's the other part of it too. Is when you're starting out, obviously your swing isn't super consistent,
Hmm.
and it's gonna change. So when you start playing, you need to get into a set that is good for you to start and kind of get into the game and start advancing. And then a good time to get really dialed in with the proper gear, like fit to your game, is once you have a consistent swing and you know your tendencies, and a fitter like me can see those tendencies in a fitting. Otherwise, it's if you can't have a consistent swing, it's just kind of a crapshoot on what
Yeah.
gear is going to be best for you because there's no consistent data there.
So we're going to jump a little bit all over the place, because I think that's a really interesting point. Because how do you, as a fitter, approach a golfer with an inconsistent swing, and like, when they're, whether you're either advising them that they don't need this at this point, or they're just adamant that they just want new clubs because, I don't know, for whatever reason. But like,
Yeah,
what is your approach to a customer and a player like that?
yeah. So there's certain clubs out there that are like the ultra forgiving clubs, and that's usually what they need. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's not the brand that they want, or sometimes it doesn't have the look that they want, or the color
Yeah.
that they want. So you got to take every customer is very different, and you just have to take the approach of what that customer's goals are. But they're each brand right now. It's pretty cool because pretty much across the board, every brand has a super game improvement line.
Mm-hmm.
So if a customer is brand loyal to a certain brand, I can get them into a club that's gonna fit their needs in that specific brand. So that's nice too, with all the options that are out there right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What would you say when I want to kind of reverse it a bit? When a player is walking into a fitting, how would you advise guys that want to get fitted for clubs? Like, what should the approach and mentality be? Because when I went and got mine fitted, I think it's been like 3 or 4 years now. And I love my clubs, but I was so adamant that I was going to get a set of Mizunos or Pings. And I play TaylorMade. I play the P790s, and I never thought, I always say, oh, TaylorMade's just for bad golfers, which, like, I'm an very average golfer, hence the name of the show here. But, but I think that, like, I don't know if that I think that kind of, I don't know, it, like, you go in with a preconceived notion of what maybe it should be or what the end result should be in terms of equipment. And some guys maybe come out disappointed. And I'm just curious as to, like, what you have to say about that.
Yeah, my advice would be to be open-minded, because that happens so often, and someone tries a piece of equipment that they didn't even consider, and it just blows the other clubs out of the water. I make sure that I test all the clubs when they come out every year, just so I know how it works and what type of golfer it's going to be good for. And I'm always surprised too. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get the new Titleist this year, and then it doesn't click for me, or it doesn't perform how I thought it would. And the Callaway was the club that came out on top. So there's just so many clubs out there, and there's a lot of technology. And my advice would just be to be very open-minded and trust the data, because the numbers never lie.
Yeah. And we're going to get into the data, because I've got a little test for you here in a minute. But so, because I want to get into kind of the process stuff, because I think, like, that, at least for me, like, I went and got fitted at Club Champion, and it was a great experience, I think, overall. But your point about the data, like, more times than not, I feel guys have no idea, just feeling overwhelmed by everything that's in front of them if they're actually meeting with you on a simulator, right? Like, where it's like attack angle, spin rate, all this other stuff where it's like, oh my God, I don't even know how to, like, dissect all of this. So we're going to get into that in just a second, but I want to start at the very beginning. So, we're just going to use me as an example for tonight. So
Sure.
if I'm coming in to you, what are kind of the first things that we're getting to understand as a team, to understand, how this, like, could be the best process, the best experience possible? What are some of the questions you're asking me? What are some of the real, like, tangible, pieces of information that you need to best advise me on clubs that are right?
Yeah, for sure. So starting off the fitting is, like, one of the most important parts, because I like to have my golfers start with their own clubs, start warming up with the clubs that they're currently using, watch how they are using their clubs, what their swing is like, get a feel for their shot shape and their distances, and kind of just chit chat, get the session flowing so that everyone's comfortable. I think that's really important too. And I want to build trust with my golfers. So I like to watch them just warm up with their own clubs and kind of see how that goes. And I've done so many fittings that by the time I'm done watching them warm up, I pretty much know exactly what will work and what won't work.
Wow.
So
give me some examples. Like, I want some specifics.
Yeah, I mean, if a player, so if we're doing like a driver fitting, and I'm seeing them use an old 915 Titleist driver, low spinning, super stiff shaft, and they're just hitting low cuts all day, that we need to get them out of that.
Okay.
We're gonna lighten up the shaft. We're gonna get a driver that has a lot more draw bias to it with some higher loft to it, get that spin up so the ball can stay up in the air, and reduce that slice. So it's it's a very complex process, but once you do it so many times, you kind of get familiar with what type of golfer they are and what they're going to need for their game. So from there, I like to have the player try out 2 to 3 different options. I don't like to overdo it, because once you get in a fitting and too many swings, you're tired, and nothing beneficial is going to come out of that. So that's why I like to narrow it in as quickly as I can, and then try 2 to 3 different combos after that.
Okay. So here's, I think, like, one piece that I want to peel back the curtain a bit is what are the first couple of things of data from the simulator that you're like immediately looking for, other than, obviously, I think, to your point, like, if you can tell with technique and stuff and how their, swing path and all of that, I'm sure that's part of it. But like, what are some of those, like, when you're looking at a player's information, like, what are like the first maybe like 3 things of data that you are like, I need to like understand this immediately?
Club attack angle and club path are super important, and probably club head speed and the ball speed that they're getting off of that.
Okay. Explain to me why that is then.
So I need to understand, I can see what the ball's doing. I want to know what's happening at impact to make that happen. So from there, we can kind of move on to what clubs will be able to help them fix that and improve those numbers.
Okay. That's fair. So what I want to do, with that being said, we're bringing up an example, my friend.
Okay.
We're gonna. So this is not mine, obviously, but this. Let me know if you can see that.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Hopefully it's not too small. But so this is just an example I got off the web. From at least the stats that I am like somewhat familiar with, I would say that this guy's, pretty like mid-range, and this is a 7-iron, I think it says, like, at the very bottom.
Okay.
So what can you, when you're looking at this, all right, and like, explain it to me as, like, again, I don't know every single thing on here and like what that actually, like, how it like really impacts me as a player. So kind of walk me through, like, hey, Brady, this is just what I hit with my 7-iron. Walk me through what this means to me.
Yeah. So the attack angle, -2.6, that's pretty good. They're coming down on it just a little bit, which you should be with a 7-iron. The next number there, sorry, I just got to look.
No, I know it's a little small. I'm trying to, like, new platform, I'm trying to make it bigger for you.
All right, so 77 club head speed, so they're swinging it pretty good. The face angle is 1.4, so, and the club path is 4.5. So they're coming into out at 4.5 degrees. So
which would show like the draw bias. So working right to left.
Yep,
so
that's going to be a draw.
Okay.
They're getting 156 carry, and let's see here. We got spin rate is just over 5,000. So with a 7-iron, we want to get that up a little bit. So we're going to want to get them into, depending on what shaft they're using right now, we're going to want to get them into a shaft that can get a little bit more spin off of that.
Okay. Yeah, and let's say for this example that this guy's like, hey, Brady, like, shot path and everything fairly consistent, attack angle is pretty consistent, but I want more distance. And maybe I would assume with that, like, being able to control that, so maybe a little more control over the flight of the ball and all of that. So, like, how would you go about, you pick a club, whatever it is, and let's just say he wants more distance and to be able to flight it with a bit more control. Like, where do you go from there?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on what club they're using here.
Okay.
So if it's an outdated club, maybe 5+ years old, the new tech is going to help them get that distance for sure. A lot of these companies have started using really lightweight materials that are a lot thinner but still have that strength. So the new tech is definitely going to help them. The shaft is key though. So when I started, it was probably when I was being trained on 7 years ago. The golf pro at the shop, he told me, and this is probably like a lot of people have probably heard this, but if the club is like a car, the head is like the body style, but then the shaft is the motor. So you can do a lot with the body style, right? If it's a sports car body style versus a pickup truck, but that motor, that engine that's on the inside, that really is what's going to power this thing. So we would need to dial in the shaft, and the new tech in the club head always helps, but the shaft is going to be key in this as well. So it's a good balance.
So let's just say, again, for this example, this is me, and I would love to have, that consistent draw on my 7-iron. But let's just say he's, I have a graph. So my set is TaylorMade P790. I think I want to say it's like 4 years, maybe even 5 years old now. And I'm playing a graphite shaft. So I have graphite across all of mine. I have a fairly, I'd say average to a little bit slower swing speed, both for driver and my irons, like across the whole place. I have a very super light shaft for my driver. I think I have a 50 gram, something like that. So let's just say, okay, Brady, like here's what I'm swinging with this bad boy. Okay. I want more distance. Help me out. What are we doing? What type of clubs are we looking at? Because again, I'm kind of under the assumption too, where it's like, I always feel the most tech advancement for clubs is in the driver, but like, correct me if I'm wrong, if a lot of new tech developments and irons are like night and day difference from like 2-3 years ago. So I know that's a lot, but like, let's go.
Yeah. Lately. Yeah. So when you think about going to get the new, everybody always wants the new driver. It's right. It's the big club. You can go and smash it with the driver. And yeah, a lot of technology advancements have come out in the last few years. Last year, TaylorMade started with the carbon face, and then this year they doubled down on the carbon, and almost the entire club head is carbon with a titanium chassis. So, yeah, the technology is definitely going to be there. But if you come to me with a lightweight graphite shaft in your irons, and I see you just like rocketing the ball into the air and tons of spin, the one way to get a lot more distance is to really cut that spin down. So we would want something with a little bit higher kick point to get a little bit lower launching, and then probably something a little bit heavier to help knock that spin down too. So the trajectory is a little bit more piercing versus the lightweight graphite shafts tend to be a higher spinnier ball flight.
Interesting. Okay. So then from there, like probably just a heavier shaft a little bit to see if we can knock that down a bit. Cause like for me with spin, like to play dumb, like when is spin good and when is spin bad? Like when is it too much and when is it too little?
Yeah. So spin is control. If you don't have any spin, the ball knuckles all over the place and you don't have any control. It hits the ground and runs forever, and you don't want that either. But if it's spinning too much, it balloons up in the air, and for a driver, if you have too much spin, it lands, it doesn't go anywhere. So there's definitely a happy medium. It depends on the player's goals and what they're looking for in a club. If you want a hybrid that pierces through the air and gets you 250 yards every time with the rollout and everything, that's going to be one thing. But if you want a hybrid that you can hit 220 yards, land it on the green and stick it, we're going to want a little bit more spin with that. So it's not a great answer to your question, but it really depends on the golfer's goals. And we want enough spin to keep the ball in the air, but we don't want too much spin where it's not going anywhere, and you almost lose that control when there's too much spin. So there's a sweet spot, and it depends on goals, I guess, is the roundabout answer there.
And I think that's fair. I mean, I think it's, if you've, again, for those who choose to watch this, like if you've never been into a fitting before, like it's very, like the whole point is it's personalized to you, right? Yeah. So it's just like, there's no real I mean, you tell me, but like, it doesn't seem like there's really like a benchmark. Like, here's what the cookie cutter solution is. It's like, it's very much like, how are the clubs and the ball working for you, and what is it that you want to change about everything, right?
Yeah. And we can try to copy Rory's swing, but everybody
Yeah.
has a different swing, so they're going to have different numbers,
Yep.
and that's just the way it is. That's why another reason why I think fitting is really cool and why I love doing it is because each golfer is like a different puzzle,
Yeah.
and
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
it's just fun to kind of solve that puzzle and get them into the gear that's going to advance their game the most.
Well, I'm gonna need. We're gonna have to talk some sidebar after this, because I am in the market for a new driver. I'm hitting the 917 D2
Oh, okay,
Titleist,
nice.
so I am well within the realm of needing an update. So we're for sure gonna have to talk. One of the questions I had on here though, and I actually don't know the answer for this. So again, average golfer here is why when guys and girls are going into a fitting, why is the 7-iron normally like one of the first clubs? Like, obviously you do your warm up, but like, why do the fitters normally, again, this is just from my experience, so say like, let's see what it is from the 7-iron. Is that just because it's middle of the bag pretty much, or like what's the reason behind that?
Yeah, so I guess the manufacturers send the demo clubs, and they're always a 7-iron, and actually they've kind of moved on to the 6-iron
Oh, interesting.
as a little bit. So it needs to be a long enough club where we can see the shot shape and the pattern. If we're doing a pitching wedge, we're not going to be able to see the shot shape and get the information we need. But if we start with a 4 or 5-iron, even a 6-iron, that's a harder club to hit. So we're going to see more inconsistencies, and we need consistent data, or as consistent as we can get, to get an accurate fitting. So 7-iron is kind of comfortable for most players. It's a lot of players' favorite clubs. Like the half sets, they always have a 7-iron because it's just an easy club to hit, and it's good for fitting because you can get some consistent data to make the fitting beneficial.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I was wondering if it had anything to, like, to your point, if it's just like you need enough distance to see exactly what the ball's doing, and versus like a wedge that might only go 100 to 140 yards,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, and for a wedge fitting, that's fine. But for
sure.
a full iron set fitting, if the demo club is just a 7-iron, that's the middle of the set, and a really good club to go off of.
Okay, well, that I appreciate the knowledge there. I appreciate that. When I want to back up a bit with your point about, really with the approach and the mindset of walking in being open-minded. When you're looking at, so we're talking like manufacturers and brands now. Okay. So let's say like, I don't know, maybe they're, a 12 handicap, 12 to 15 handicap, whatever it is. Are there particular brands that from experience that are kind of better suited for that type of player versus like, a player that's in the single digits? And I'll just give you just probably a bad example that I've come across with one of the fittings I've been in. Basically his comment to me was like, you're not good enough to hit Titleist. And I said, that's totally fine, because I was playing Titleist before I had my TaylorMades, and it was very much, a up and down roller coaster. So for at least at the time, I was like, okay, that's fair. But like, I guess my question is like, what type of brands are kind of better suited for maybe like those higher handicappers versus the guys that are like single digits to scratch?
Yeah. So, kind of how I was saying earlier about how there's so many options out there right now. That's what's really cool. So, TaylorMade, Callaway, Titleist, Cobra, Strixon. Well, okay, so not so much Strixon. The first three, TaylorMade, Callaway, Titleist, and Cobra, they have really good options for all skill levels right now. So they have their core models, which is really good for just if you're buying it off the shelf, or for a golfer that doesn't need help either way. They have the core models. Then they have the draw bias models. So they're going to be the higher launching, slice fighting drivers. Callaway has the Paradigm X and the Rogue ST Max D, and then TaylorMade has the Stealth HD. So those are going to be for the people that need help with the slice. Not necessarily good golfers and bad golfers. Uh, Nelly Corda on LPGA, she plays the Stealth HD, so she plays
Really?
the high draw version. Yeah, so
Oh,
a lot of people
okay.
associate it with it is a max forgiving club, but
For sure.
if that fits you the best, that's going to be the club that we should go with. And then all of those brands, they also have the low spinning, more workable driver too. So the Paradigm Triple Diamond, that's what John Rahm and all
Yep.
those guys have been winning with. And then TaylorMade has the Stealth Plus. So um, it's pretty cool because all the brands have something for each skill level right now, it seems like, and it makes fitting a lot easier, especially if a person comes to me and says, I need this brand, like this is what I want to play. I can get them into a club that is going to be a good fit for them because there are those club head models available.
Okay. So I mean that makes a ton of sense because again, it's just like, yeah, it like you say, it goes to the mindset thing, but now with so much versatility and like options out there, I mean, I think it's pretty, I would say it's pretty difficult for a fitter to not find a solution for the modern day golfer walking
Yeah,
into a fitting with all the stuff that's out there.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
technology makes it a lot easier.
For real, for real. What would you say, like in terms of like let's do driver and then iron. Where has like driver like really, I guess, progressed the game? Let's just say in the last like 3 to 5. We obviously know what it was like a decade ago, but like to your point with like TaylorMade doubling down on carbon, like what do you see other brands doing as it relates to driver? And then kind of same question to iron. Where are you seeing the biggest advancements and improvements?
Yeah, everybody wants to hit it farther,
Right.
so that's what all the brands are always going after. Like like I said, the carbon in the TaylorMade drivers, and Callaway came out with more carbon in their drivers and their woods this year. The Mizuno irons have a new chromoly material. It's the type of metal that they use on the face of their irons, so it's lighter and more. It has more flex to it now, but it's still super strong. So it's the materials that are being used are something that we didn't see 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And one of the biggest iron advancements that I saw this year was the Callaway Paradigm.
Really?
So they came out with it's a hollow body design, but they put a forged face on it. So you get the distance, tons of distance, and the forgiveness of a hollow body iron. And then the forged face enhances the feel like crazy. So
Interesting.
I was really impressed with the Paradigm this year, and that was kind of the biggest technology jump in an iron that I've seen recently. That one really stood out.
It seems so. Just from that, is this more like about the materials that they're putting into? I mean, I'm sure design is equally as important, but like, do you feel like manufacturers are just consistently experimenting with like more materials to again just provide the best iron and drivers out, the best clubs out in the market? Like, I'm just
Yeah, it seems like it because they're really restricted on the size and the shape. So
that's
like they
right.
can't get any bigger. There's
Yeah,
certain measurements that they can't change. They can't get too out of the box with the actual design of the club. So at this point, it's kind of where the weight is placed. And these new lighter weight materials are allowing them to move that discretionary weight inside the club head, and it even use the different materials for the face. So the ball's interacting with a different type of material that generates more ball speed and more consistent results too.
okay. Interesting. Interesting. Well, look, I know we're coming up on time here. I said it'd only take you for like half an hour, but the last question I have for you though is, you know, so getting towards the end of the fitting, right? Like what are the changes that you're looking to see in the fitting, right? So what type of improvements or what, and again, I know it's obviously tailored to each individual golfer, but like what are maybe some common denominators that you're kind of hoping to see by the end of getting the player fitted?
Yeah, so obviously everyone wants to hit it further. If distance was their goal, I want to get them into something that can get them that distance. But one of the things that I personally like to see the most improvement in is the dispersion, the left to right dispersion. I think
Okay.
that's where a lot of golfers really struggle if they come to me with a massive slice or a pull hook. Um, we might need some lessons to fix that, but technology can really help with that too. So I want to see that dispersion really tighten up and be close to the center line as possible. And if the player can hit it straight more consistently, they're going to have more fun on the course, and that's what I enjoy seeing. I get pictures from my golfers that they'll say, "Hey, I shot a new personal best today," or
Yeah.
I've gotten a couple hole-in-one pictures from guys that I've fit clubs
Oh,
for.
too
So
cool.
I absolutely love seeing that stuff. So if I can get a player hitting it more consistently, straighter, and keeping it in the fairway, hitting more greens, I like to see that accuracy. Distance is fun. Accuracy is huge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I need a little bit of both, but definitely more on the accuracy side. So when we get hooked up here, I'm gonna need some help with the dispersion has been an issue as of late. So I think I might be due for maybe the irons, but definitely driver for sure. So well,
Sounds good.
Brady, I want to give you one last plug here, my man. So if guys or girls want to get fitted, they're interested in working with you, what's the best way to get in contact with you and potentially do some business for some club fitting? Where should they go?
Yeah. Yeah. So my Instagram account's probably the best, the easiest way. It's at the.golf.expert. So at the golf expert. And my link to my website is in my bio. So if you either want to send me a DM on Instagram or hit the link in my bio, you'll be connected to my website where you can chat with me through the website too. It's a really cool platform. You get connected to my personal phone, so we can text from phone to
Nice.
phone. We can call and get you all dialed in.
Love it. Love it. And look, folks, he's an engineer, so he knows this stuff inside and out. And I've scoped out his Instagram page. It's very, very cool. Just again, showing the examples, not only that he knows the stuff, but the results as well. So definitely go check him out. I'll probably be dropping you a line, very, very soon here. And look, when I get because I always got to visit the little brother. Next time I'm up in Minnesota, man, we got to hit around for
Yeah, for
sure.
sure. Yeah, we definitely will.
Love it. And if you're ever in the Chicago area, please hit me up. We got plenty of courses down here too. Love to take you out. So
Absolutely. Sounds awesome.
invitation's always there. Brady, thanks again, my man. I'm sure we'll talk soon. And thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yep, sounds good, Jacob. Thanks for having me.
All right. Take it easy, man.
See ya.
Bye. All right, folks. So there Brady was. Fantastic, fantastic guest. I think we just scratched the surface. I'm probably going to have him back on as a part two for getting into more of the fitting stuff and talking everything tech, but super knowledgeable. Again, check his Instagram profile out. And again, that's linked to his curated page to get hooked up for any fitting that you may want with him. So definitely worth the look. Scope him out. So want to thank Brady again. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And until next time, another episode. Again, Average Golf Talk. We're back, baby. We are back. And until next time, keep it spicy, folks. We'll see you later.